What's up, Fortnite fam? It's me, Zeke. Today we're taking a look at a VoD review out of NAWest. We're hopping into a game with Leno, Epic Whale, and Symmetrical. We also have a very special guest, MonsterDFace. So let's get started and hop into this VoD review.
Hey guys, MonsterDFace here, and it looks like we're jumping into Week 4's festivities. We got the winning team, the winning trio, Symmetrical, Epic Whale, and Leno. And once again, they're landing at Loot Lake, which is going to be a big surprise for a lot of people because this week's not Retail Row hotspot. What do you think about that, Zeke?
Yeah, man, this is a very unique drop coming from this trio. We're very well aware that retail is where people like to go. It can very much energize your early game heading into mid game there. But this trio coming out of NAWest, they're like, you know what? We're going to Loot Lake. What's crazy here is it's completely uncontested. We saw Symmetrical land west side factories. Whale here is going to land on the east side, which is basically that watchtower area. And then north side of Loot Lake, the modern house, we're going to see Leno. And starting the game, he's going to start with a gold tactical shotgun.
Yeah, and this is a pretty strong loadout, like you said, for early game. But lucky for them, it's uncontested. And I would say a big part of the map being so uncontested, especially in these open qualification formats, is because there's stronger landing points. So for them to pull a first place out of somewhat of a non-meta landing area shows that it's all about playing smart and making it through your early games. That's exactly what they're going to do here. They're going to set up. So in today's VoD review, we'll be jumping through pivotal moments, and early game is extremely pivotal. You can see that they also don't waste any time. They take a nice wide spread here. Symmetrical landing factories, making sure that he's going to cap out on loot. And one of the big things about Loot Lake is that rift to go. You can always use that rift to get anywhere on the map from here out. So they basically get first, I would say, 2-3 zones for free.
Yeah, and I mean, they're maximizing their efficiency around Loot Lake, right? Even taking a look at Epic Whale right now, he has 4 half shields. So he's basically going to guarantee that his team is topped off. Symmetrical is the only one that would need it because Leno's already there. But, I mean, just to think about like how crazy it is to land uncontested at Loot Lake. I mean, you brought it up, that middle rift zone that people can use to navigate away from this, which they are going to use. They're going to use it to go a little bit toward Dusty in just a moment. But, like, I couldn't have asked for like a much better starting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you have a free rotation to anywhere on the map, that means that the entire map is your playground. You will be able to kind of get to any point so that you get first dibs on big mountains, first dibs on third parties, first dibs on, beating the storm surge per se. A lot of these players put this into their play styles when it comes down to how they rotate and where they go, next. So in this specific example here, Symmetrical and crew, they're going straight for the divot. So they've already pretty much capped out on metal. Looks like this rotation here is so that they can go for more loot and pick up the scraps, right? Because again, it's all about having as much gear as you can. You want to put the shots down, you got to have the ammunition.
That's right. And their early game was pretty much largely uncontested. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip forward in time and see how things are going. Right now, they are near pressure plant. That word is so hard to say. Here in Storm Circle 2, the storm is starting to move. So now they have to kind of identify where they're going to kind of bolster up their defenses. I like what they do here. They are going to start moving up and just kind of camp out on top of the volcano. It's a great view of basically the entire left half of pressure plant. There is another team contesting. That's kind of what they're pinging out. You see those markers coming out. They don't want to take these fights, though. I mean, like, looking at the loadout that Symmetrical has, like, they could very well engage these guys, right? But yeah. I like that they're deciding that this isn't the fight for them. They want to play for late game, and that's kind of what they're going to show us here as we kind of move out through this replay.
Yeah, but you know what? More importantly, too, that entire rotation, the initial rotation, they're only just now using materials. So they had free reign of rotate. And that's one of the perks, like we said, of having the rift to get to, the early places first. They went to divot, so they had center map. They were able to cap out on materials, and they had the next dib on the first rotations to the next zone. So here they are outside the volcano, and again, they're near max material. Yes, they are setting up a little bit of a tactic here. You guys will see coming up. Here it is. This grenade chuck right here was discovered recently in the community. What you do is you split the grenades and you have a perfect 70-meter explode radius, which is undefendable. So you see right there, they're setting up proper sieges, and they may not walk away with any tags or anything here, but it's still these setups that allow them to find success throughout their games. And of course, that rotating for free means that they can set up, again, huge bases moving forwards.
Yeah, and I mean, they didn't get anything out of that explode tactic. It's a great tactic, but in the end, like, we see some of that being reinforced with brick, and some of it earlier on was reinforced with metal. So you're trading a few grenades for like a pretty good chance at eliminations, and even if you don't get them, you're trading out a bunch of that enemy's materials. They also, there's no way they want to push them now. Like, look at them; they're out in the open, they're just jumping, they're not building, and that's because they basically established their dominance, saying, "Look, we are the stronger team right now. So if you'd like to take this fight, we're ready when you are. Please shoot first."
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing, especially when they use that heavy sniper. So symmetrical, putting a little bit of damage down, which can gain aggro, right? You can gain the attention of your opponents, but you also gain the peak respect. So a lot of people are going to be very cautious when they decide to turn back and fire, and they're doing it again right here. They're just getting those free rotations, moving across, just really using the natural terrain here to stay out of the line of fire. And now that there is some threat here, they're going to collapse on top of one another. They're looking to siege up on their next opponent. These are great early rotates, guys. If you're looking to learn how to rotate, this is what these reviews are for. You really want to focus on how teams maneuver the map, and they do a perfect job of conserving material and not wasting any time or waiting till last minute to set up sieges.
And even just the formation, right? How they're moving. Leno being at the back, he's got that infantry rifle that he can use to put down shots. He even has the minigun to kind of help his teammates. They even had leftover grenades, right? So they could push on this team. Now they're not going to get any eliminations out of it, but it's just more about like establishing themselves and letting the lobby know, like, look, we are the ones dictating what you can and can't do right now. If you'd like to,
this one.
Oh, go ahead.
This one, this one was actually very important. So that early rotate allowed them to get right on top of an opponent, and he actually hits a crucial heavy snipe here. And this is actually a huge pickup because look, they're going to be able to replenish all their loot, and more importantly, they don't even get greedy here. They drop the player, get one elim, just one, and say, you know what, that's enough for them, because now they recap out on gear, center map, and they just have control of this area. And the other team, they left them. They left those teammates just kind of to scatter off. And now they just have a strong spot in the middle. But it's not getting greedy, right? Because they know they're in the middle of the map. There's a lot of players are going to be looking if they make any more, bring any more attention to themselves. That's how you get a server to collapse on you. So even the patience here is really showing on this trio.
Yeah, and there is that brute very close by that is probably going to be drawing a little more aggro, just a little bit. But at the same time, like, them just understanding kind of how to move, how to basically just disappear into the shadows when they need to is really good for them. And even here, right, like they have this angle down on top of the lobby, which is going to help them a lot. Because, again, it's just about trying to dictate the pace, right? If you can tell someone, look, I want to take this fight, or we're not taking this fight, or basically you could just sit in your box because if you peek, we will drop the elimination on your face. You're going to basically tell the entire lobby how to play your game, right? Because if you're on the other end, it's like, well, I want to move, or like, man, we should kind of do these things. And you're like, I can't, because this enemy trio they have the beat on us. If we try to do anything, they're ready to pounce. So they're really good at kind of telling the entire lobby what and how basically this game is going to be played out. The circle now is going to move a little bit west of them. It's not that far away, though. They kind of have a launch pad. They have some resources, but I don't know. I feel like they're so well established even now in the game. I mean, 54 players still left in the lobby, and they don't, by the way they're moving, they don't look scared at all.
No, they're not. They're absolutely not. This is another important rotate here. So it only took them about a minute to decide, you know what, we're going to hit an early rotation. This is one thing that trios make huge mistakes on. They wait until last moment, until the storm's moving, to get a really capitalized on timing these rotations here. So watch that. They go nice and early. They even have 20 seconds to spare to make it to the next zone. And then that means that they have a full at least minute to fight until the next zone pressures them out. So that's how they get to this next location nice and early. And something that you're going to notice coming up is the way they focus team fights. I don't think I've ever done a VoD review like this before where I see a squad actually focus one layer up teams. So most of the time, teams that are in the low ground are fighting, left to right? They're just fighting their circumference on the bottom layers, and they don't ever pay too much focus on the high ground teams. This team specifically will focus squads that are above them. That's going to come shortly, and you guys are going to see how important that is, because it allows them to set up these really great rotates. And That's what I think they shined in this week on the VoD.
Yeah, and I mean, what's cool about that as well is like a lot of people don't really. The first instinct is who is on my layer, who is to my left, who is to my right, who am I gonna have to fight?
Yeah.
If you're trying to push up or down, you're gonna catch a lot of people off guard. And I mean, this tactic isn't always like the right thing to do. Sometimes you do not want to do that. But what I like about this trio specifically is they know when to do that. Even right here, right? They pick up Hunter and they just go for it. Because, like, look at these guys. They had no idea. They literally were unsuspecting. The moment they come around, they're like, okay, you've caught us completely off guard. What are we supposed to do here? They even try to go for the shield bubble, which just doesn't pan out, right? Like, they've already pushed in your box. They've already in your face. There's not much you can do at that point. So it's like, in you reacting and dropping the shield bubble, it's basically giving them more, like, it's giving them the information they want. Like, these guys are scared. They're so scared they're trying to pop a shield bubble. They don't realize we're actually on top of them. They've basically wasted an action. And this gives them even more confidence, even more fuel to keep moving forward.
Yep, and that's exactly what I was talking about. So they focus the team one layer up. They pick a player up, and they only get 2 of them, and they let the third one go again. Just exercising patience, which we saw in the previous fight. They got one big elim. It helped them cap off materials, and then they chilled. Here, they catch 2. The other person escapes, and they say, you know what? We're not going to get greedy. We've already taken your layer, right? This is our spot now, and they get all this loot. So now the zone's going to reveal itself. They have a big rotation to make. They set up the perfect kind of low launch pad. And they've just been doing an excellent job at getting to the next zone first. So right here, they get edge zone. They're going to chill. And their next rotation, once again, is going to be for them to capitalize on materials. So this is where they spend, 20 seconds getting to the zone and then 1 minute fighting again. That's how they pick up so many elims and just again, dictate the pace of the battle here. So now that they get to the zone early, they can just fire back at any opponent. And the minigun's going to play a huge part in that.
Yeah, and even like understanding kind of the layout of where you're landing, right? Because this is an area with water, right? Like, so you have to basically guarantee certain amount of builds to tarp out over the water. If you don't, you're at a disadvantage. So them getting here earlier and being like, okay, cool, like we know we're gonna be able to see every single person that comes our way because they are forced to build unless they want to sit there and try and submarine their way to us. And I promise you, no one wants to do that. So that's just going to give them free reign over the lobby, free reign over shots. And they're just so well established. So like the next circle goes a little more northwest. And this is where things are going to get a little bit dicey. But again, they're in full control. I mean, more team shots are going to guarantee another elimination. But what you kind of touched on earlier was like this control, right? Like I feel like a lot of teams that are maybe beginning their Fortnite career, they tend to think, okay, we pick up a person, we just have to go full send and clean up the entirety of that trio or duo or squad or whatever. That's not always the case, right? Even just getting 1 or 2 and just getting what you need from it and then kind of knowing when to back off is a skill in its own. And it is like what can attribute to a lot of people being successful heading into late game.
100%. So this right here is a prime example. They rotated early. Now they're set up on a big base with high ground, and they're firing at everyone trying to land. Most players try to do the textbook, wait till the zone comes and then move. Not these guys. The best players will know when to capitalize on early movement so that they can set up and be the person on offense instead of defense. So all of these players trying to launch pad out is because they've decided they're trying to get to the zone when the zone is safe. As opposed to Epic Whale, Leno, and Symmetrical here, who moved, seconds earlier and then set up and decide to tarp in instead of using their mobility. So this is why they're able to, at this point now, dominate all other players. Remember, if you have a minigun, you have high ground, and you're firing down, really not even just a minigun, just any kind of pressure down, you're burning all of the crucial materials from your opponents, and you're forcing them to use impulses or shockwaves that they don't want to use, right? Normally, people want to use shockwaves for high ground. In this case, people are trying to shockwave away from them because there's so much pressure coming from the high ground now.
And even if you don't, what I like about this too, and some people don't think about it, but like even if you're firing downward and these people, this enemy trio are in their box and they're taking shots from above them, someone's trying to punch into their box from the right or the left, you're just causing them to panic. And like this is a great example, right? You see they were firing down on that trio and then eventually they're like, we just got a launch pad. We're so like uneasy about everything going on around us, we don't have enough information. We just have to burn something to try and get ourselves out. And then that's just information that they're intaking. They're like, cool, that team's down a launch pad and we know where they're going. Or like, that team's down a launch pad and now they're forced to fight the team that we shot at before. That will thin itself out and then we can clean up in a moment. Like, there's just so many layers that kind of go into controlling the lobby and dictating the pace of the game. And I feel like that's what this trio does very, very well.
Yeah, and what they're doing well here, although they hold in the high ground on different layers, so they're getting a bunch of different angles at the expense of their materials. But this is what happens when you are dropping teams in the end game and you're walking into end game with max materials. They did this with no vehicle, no mech. This is straight up on foot ground patrol and just being very patient with their battles. They take a big elim that allows them to have max mats, and this is why they're able to tarp the entire end game. And they all have their own layers. They all use their own layers in the end game. That's why they have all these angles, and they're just cleaning up shop here in the end with all the ammunition that they have, kind of rounded up at this point.
This is I wanted to stay on this specifically because we see Symmetrical goes out of the zone with the initial shockwave, but then gets himself back in. That in itself was very, very slick. I like it because you kind of hear a shockwave and you don't see any builds being destroyed. And so initially you think like that player is just going to be eliminated. Nope, Symmetrical comes back in, and now they're just going to look to clean up the last elimination here. There is a player knocked, and this here is going to be Vinny in the box. Now, we saw a little bit of Chug Splash come out before, so we know his effective HP is very low, and inevitably that's what leads him to the Victory Royale. So all in all, man, like, this trio is very, very precise. They're very methodical, and I just love seeing their play.
Yeah, 100%. They gave a really good running for Edgy and his team, taking away the first place this week, and that's the first time the second place team, I guess, has been overthrown. So that's going to conclude our week 4. Thank you, guys. This is MonsterDFace. I'll see you guys soon.
That was an awesome game. Thanks so much to MonsterDFace for hanging out and taking a look at the VoD review. And again, congrats to the trio for their incredible Victory Royale. Now, Fortnite fam, don't forget, we have more content coming later this week, so keep your eyes peeled. Until next time.